Hey, 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 it's Rebecca, and you're listening to Resilient by Design. Today, I'm talking about planning ahead, planning for next year. What does that look like? And, I've done a lot of episodes like this in the past. And so I wanted to do this one a little bit differently because I can tell you that I hear from designers a lot of the time. I don't know where I see myself in 5 years or 10 years. I don't have a plan. I don't really have goals. I'm just trying to survive and I'm having a hard time envisioning where I want to take this. And so today I want to speak to those designers and maybe some of you who are feeling like a little bit lost and like things have changed. And so today's episode, I'm going to walk you through 3 steps to planning for the year ahead, even when you have no idea. Really, you have no idea where you want to go. So that's what today's episode is all about. Grab a pen and paper. There's going to be lots to note down. I'm excited to help you jump into the year ahead. Let's go. All right. I'm Rebecca Hay, and I've built a successful interior design business by trial and error, podcasts, online courses, and so many freaking books. Over the last decade, I've grown from an insecure student to having false starts to careers, and now I'm finally in the place where I want to be. Throughout my journey, it's been pretty obvious that I'm passionate about business and helping other entrepreneurs do the same. Each week, I'll share tangible takeaways from my own experience and the experiences of other badass women to help you build your confidence and change your business. My tea is hot today. All right. I always do this, guys. I always make a tea right before I go to record a podcast. But I don't have time to drink the tea because I'm doing all the talking because it's my podcast. Even when I have a guest, I guess when I have a guest, I'm able to drink more tea. And then my tea's cold at the end. Seriously, Rebecca, what the heck am I doing? Okay, so let's dive into today's podcast. And before I do, I want to give you guys a few other resources because typically at the end of the year, I always do an episode about goal setting and planning. And we have done a few of these over the years. And so I want to just let you know which episodes, and we'll link these in the show notes too, to make it easy for you, but which ones are going to be really beneficial for you to go back. And if you really want to do a deep dive into annual company planning, getting your business ready for the year ahead, reviewing your year past, these are the episodes you want to go back and listen to. So episode 40 and 41, they were a 2-part series. They are get your business ready for 2021, but the exercises in those episodes apply to any year. And it is a focus on a year in review and business strategy. And then 41 is get your business ready, focus on goal setting. So episode 40 and 41 of this podcast are really great ones. Also check out episode 89 and 90. And I call those ones annual company planning part 1 and part 2. And we talk about the year-end review, a financial review, and getting ready for the year ahead. So that's episodes 40 and 41 and 89 and 90. If this idea of really taking advantage of the time, over the holidays, over the winter break, to dive into even just thinking about your business, maybe mapping things out, maybe you want to do it before the end of the year, maybe you want to kickstart January. Those are really great episodes that if I do say so myself, are really helpful. I share actual exercises that I do every year in my own business. Today, I'm taking a softer approach. It's less about review this number and calculate this thing. That's what those episodes are for. And it's more about diving deep within. And stay with me here, guys. It's a little bit woo-woo. I know. Sometimes that can be woo-woo. I've got my notes here. I just want to make sure I got my notes. Okay. I want to talk about the 3 steps you can take to help you get clarity for the year ahead. So I'm just going to dive right in to the first step. So the first step is determine what you're good at. What is your unique ability? If you guys have been following for the last few months, you'll know I've talked a lot about this on social, in my emails. Guys, if you're not on my email list, you absolutely need to be on that list because in January, we're going to be making some announcements to that list first before we go to the public, and you're going to want to get on that. So we'll share a link to that in the show notes. I'm just making a note of that so that they include that. So the team includes that. Okay. But I've been talking a lot about this idea of understanding your unique ability, understanding what is it that makes you tick? What's your MO? What are you just naturally, intrinsically good at? And I think it's really powerful to dive into that because it's going to inform the way forward, your path forward. And I have been doing exercises myself, and I've been doing this book called Unique Ability. You can get it online, but it has been really mind-blowing, eye-opening, and in fact, just reaffirming of things that I knew. So the first step that I'm going to recommend you do is I actually going to recommend that you take a personality test. The personality test that I think is the most powerful of all the ones I've done is the Myers-Briggs test. You can get it. Oh, shoot. I should have got the link for you guys. It's a Strengths Finders test. It's called Clifton Strengths. I will link that here in the show notes. The Clifton Strengths profile, you can get it. There's a book called Strengths Finder 2.0. And if you have that book, you can do the test for free. Otherwise, I think I paid $19.99 to take the test. I highly recommend you do it. It's going to be the best $20 you've ever freaking spent. I did this back in, I think it was 2017, and the results are exactly the same. And so it's just really amazing because it shows who you are at your core doesn't necessarily change or shift. And when you do this online profile, it's going to help you to identify your talents and develop them into strengths. And they say that people are more productive, perform better, and are more engaged when you identify your talents and you use them as strengths. It's based on a lot of research, based on an algorithm, all the things. But I highly recommend that you do this test. It's going to give you your top 5 or your dominant strengths. And those are going to help you get clarity on why you do the things you do, why you've been successful in certain areas of your life, and how to move forward. There's basically sort of 4 areas that they talk about. I'm not going to go into it all, but I highly recommend you do it to get your top 5 strengths. Then I want you to write them down someplace where you will be able to look at them every day. I have mine on like a little note card pinned to a corkboard in my office. I also have done some journaling, writing into a notebook about them, but these are going to help you understand your unique ability. And it's a personality assessment. You might take it and think, this is bogus. It doesn't apply to me. When I did mine, though, I was like, mind blown. This is insane. And I'm going to share with you guys what my top 5 are. My top 5 are futuristic. So I have a vision for the future, which I can use and to inspire me to move forward and take action. I can use detail to describe what I see, and I can help other people imagine their future. Hello, isn't that what I'm doing like all the time now in coaching? It's so wild. So futuristic. That also applies actually to like my design business and how I can kind of envision the finished product when my clients can't. So futuristic. My second top strength, like my next strongest strength. So that is my most strong strength. My greatest strength, my most strong strength. Oh my gosh, Rebecca, is futuristic. What I like about this is it categorizes them like the strongest. There's 34 strengths in this entire test. You just get the first 5 when you pay $20, or you can pay more money to get all 34. I did that this time around. I didn't do that the first time. Thought it was interesting because then you can also see what like falls at the bottom, what you are really not like. Number 2 for me, and in a minute, I'm going to explain how you can use this, but number 2 for me is achiever. Not shocking there. I'm very satisfied with being productive. I like to be surrounded by like-minded individuals. I can essentially zero in on a task and really work hard to get something done. I excel at launching new products, and I like to motivate people. Sometimes I need to pause to celebrate. My third one is communication. My fourth one is includer, which I thought was really interesting because that was really telling for me that I'm aware of what it feels like to not belong. And it's so true. Therefore, I go out of my way to welcome people who other people may ignore. And I strive to create a sense of belonging and acceptance. I make people feel welcome, and I accept people without judgment, and I have open-minded attitude. Then number 5 is significance. So significance means that I aspire to much more in life, and I'm leading with influencing. So I just think it was really, really interesting. There are more strengths after that. But if you're listening right now and you heard those 5 strengths of mine, I'm sure you could immediately see how, yep, they apply to Rebecca's life. Like, she's always wanting to vision cast. She's an achiever. She's always working hard to like deliver great results. I love to communicate. Hello, here I am on this podcast. It says, according to my strengths, I can communicate my ideas clearly and with ease. Sometimes I stumble and fumble my words though, but you get the idea. I'm an includer, significance. Like, these are things that really, for me, when I did this again this time around, here's how I took this. I'm like, okay, and this is what I recommend you do. And this is what this exercise was sort of helping guide me along to do. Find out what your top 5 strengths are. Write them down. Write out examples in your life that you can think of that applies to. And then I want you to think, am I really excelling in my world using my strengths? Meaning, am I using these on a regular basis? Am I doing all of this? And I think for me, what I realize now in hindsight is when I was just running my design business, I didn't have a podcast and I wasn't coaching, I wasn't fulfilling some of these strengths. Like, I wasn't able to use them to their best ability. I was doing the inclusion with my team. I was growing a team. I was trying to bring people in. I would bring people in even if they weren't the right fit. I always felt bad firing people. Now I understand why I'm terrible at letting people go, because I feel bad. I want them to feel included. I want to give them benefit of the doubt, which is a really great quality, but not when you have to manage people. And so now I understand why, that's why I don't enjoy managing people, because it's not a natural strength. The idea behind recognizing your strengths is also then recognizing that you don't have to force yourself to be strong in areas that you're not strong in. Why not? And I there is a point to all this, guys, that like, bear with me. I'm doing a big circle. We're coming back. Why not pay attention to what you're good at and just do more of that? Do less of the things that don't fill you up, and maybe even stop doing them or outsource them. So step 1, get that test. Do it. Figure out what your 5 strengths are. Step 2, I want you to do what I just said, which is write down examples that you have from your life that fit with each of those strengths. So what are some examples? For me, communication. What are some examples of that throughout my life? Wow, I always loved being on stage in theater. I went and I was teaching. I loved to teach when I was in Spain. I was teaching ESL. I started a podcast. I started a YouTube channel. I love showing up on Instagram. I like sharing in Insta stories what's going on in my life. These are great examples that I am strong in the communication. I used to do live stage talks. I still do keynote speeches, like things like that. Make a list of the examples in your life where you have used that successfully, those strengths, where those strengths have come through successfully. That's step number 2. Step number 3, I want you to look at your everyday. What are you doing in your job right now? Or what have you been doing for this last little while? What elements of what you do match those strengths? What elements of what you do match those strengths? So for me, hosting a podcast is really high up there, like really high. Like, hosting a podcast is like, I am living in my zone of genius, in my MO, doing a podcast, because I have a strong communication ability. And there's so many other strengths that I get to pull from in the podcast. That's just one example. community. I love the Designers Room community that we have created. I love the community behind Power of Process. It lights me up to see designers post on Instagram that they ran into another POP alumni, like literally brings me so much joy. That's the includer in me, wanting to bring everyone together. So think about your top 5 strengths. And again, this is why I said you're going to need a notepad and pen, because today I want you to like take some notes, or at least write down these steps so that you can come back and do this exercise. What are you doing now that fulfills those strengths? Or where do you see those strengths coming through in what you do now? Then step 4, I said 3 steps. This is like way more than 3 steps. Sorry about that. Is what doesn't match? What are you doing now that is not in your strengths? What are you doing now that's not in your strengths? For example, for me, HR. Like, no matter how many books I read and how much training I read, a leader is not the same thing as a manager. And yes, I can improve a little bit, but ultimately I would prefer to hire that out. And when I have the resources, I do. What are you doing right now that is not a strength that could either be reduced or eliminated? And the reason I want you to do this exercise leading into a new year is I want you to set goals. I want to set goals for myself that will get me closer to operating within those 5 strengths. I want to eliminate the tasks, the activities that I do in my business and in my life, to be honest. This isn't just about business, where I'm forced to use what do they call it if they're not strengths, not weaknesses, but I'm forced to use skills that are not really the strongest. And sure, we're all going to end up doing things that we don't love to do, and not everything I'm going to do has to do with being futuristic, right? But what are the things that you can get rid of? And so when you look to the year ahead, when you're looking into 2024, I want you to consider, what would it look like if I was operating in my strengths? What kind of business would I have? What kind of family life would I have? What would that look like? What are some of the things that I've had on my mind or my dreams or on a vision board that I really think this year is the year to dive all in on? Maybe it's that you love to decorate and you're tired of doing all the small bathroom and kitchen renos, and you really just want to be working with fabrics. You want to spend all day at Crabbit. I don't know, right? Maybe you love to decorate and you're doing all the other things. And maybe, one of your strengths is creativity. And like, I don't know all the strengths. There's 34 of them. I'm not going to spend time reading them. You guys can go and find them online. But what can you change in your business next year to allow your top 5 strengths to shine through? What? There are probably a few things that immediately, as I'm talking right now, you're like, yep, I already have one idea, Rebecca. Oh my God, so many ideas. Or someone might be like, I have no idea what my strengths are. I don't know. Like, I'm positive. Maybe one of my strengths is positivity. I was in a call the other day where the person said that their number 1 strength in the Clifton Strengths profile is positivity. And I thought, wow, if that's your number 1, like, you are literally the most positive person in the world. Because I'm a pretty positive person, I like to think. And positivity for me is like lands somewhere down the middle. So really hone into what are those 5 strengths. I've spent a lot of time in the last few months really trying to figure out where I want to go, because I've been a little distracted. And I think you guys can relate to this. Instagram is a bit of a rabbit hole. Or I see colleagues doing something and I think, well, I can do that. But just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do that thing. And so that's where this whole journey started for me, was really trying to get intentional and get some clarity on, there are so many things I can do. I could grow my design business and sell it. I could turn my design business into a design build. I could hire a team to manage it without my involvement at all. I could fold my design business and shelf it for later. I could do a million things. I could create a whole bunch of online courses like the Little Design Corner and sell them online. I could create a big community and drop everything into the community. I could pursue speaking engagements and become a keynote speaker. There are so many things that I can do because I see other people doing. I'm an achiever. So I know that when I set out to do something, I will do it. But I know that I'm going to be the most successful next year and in the years ahead if I am doing the things where I get to use my strengths. And I think this applies to anyone and everyone. And if someone here is listening and you still have a 9-to-5 job and you're dreaming of starting a design firm, do this test. Figure out what are your top 5 strengths. Is your job fulfilling that? If not, it might be time to start that side hustle. I'm not advocating you give 2 weeks notice. In this economy, having a job is a very secure thing. But what is going to push you to do the thing that's going to bring you the success? Not just achievement for achievement's sake, because you see your colleagues doing it. I should start e-design. Look at so-and-so doing e-design. That's a great idea. I could see, and part of the problem for me anyways, and I don't know if anyone else here is like that, because I'm like this futuristic mentality and I can put all the pieces together in my head, I can see quite clearly A to Z what I would need to do to get to a place. So I can see it. It's possible. I know how to do it. But I have to stop and think about, do I want that thing? And is it going to be the best use of my strengths? Am I going to be able to use my communication ability, my includer strengths, my significance, like futuristic? How can I continue to inspire others by pushing them towards the future, by painting that picture? Maybe e-design is not for me. And I can tell you, e-design is definitely not for me. But it can get dizzying. And that's why I wanted to have this. That's why I wanted to have this podcast episode right at the end of the year, right before we all wrap for the holidays. We kick off our heels, we put our feet up, we enjoy some eggnog, or whatever it is. Go for a sled ride if you have snow, and just truthfully reflect and figure out, am I really doing the things that I'm good at? And if I am, what aspects of that am I really good at? So if you looked at my top 5 strengths and if we look at it inside my interior design firm, I would say I'm doing a pretty good job there because I'm mapping out for the future, the company and what the plan is. I'm the achiever, so I'm making sure everything gets done. I'm focusing on the tasks. I'm the one who communicates, so I get to have the discovery call. I get to show up for the consultation. I get to show up on trade day, but I'm not being absorbed by the details. And the includer, I get to kind of bring a team together, bring the trades together. And I feel pretty good. I feel a sense of significance when I finish a project and I'm proud of the work and it gets featured in a magazine. So I would say I have finally moved my role in my design firm to a place where I think mostly I'm executing and using my strengths. Oftentimes I'm getting pulled into things that I don't like, which is the HR, the manager, sometimes the nitty gritty of the systems that I already set up, but now feel like I need to step in and tweak. And that's going to happen. But for me now in my coaching business, it's like, okay, there's so many things I could do. There's so many things that people are asking me to do. You should create a course on that, Rebecca. You should do a mastermind. Oh my gosh, I wish you had a community where I could get your feedback all the time. Like, I wish you could sell templates. Just because I can do all those things, first of all, I don't have the bandwidth to do all those things. And then it'll be hard to do any one of them well. And I want to be really successful at what I do. So I need to focus in on where my strengths lie. And that's something that you guys are going to hear from me in January. I've been cooking something up and I'm really excited to share the direction of this business and where it is going and how I'm hoping to expand and really help the design community, really help interior design firm owners who are just starting out or a few years into their business and are looking for education or looking for direction and connection. And so I'm excited about that. That's coming up in 2024. Still fleshing out those details. And it has all come from reflecting on my strengths to get clear on where I want to go. Okay. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. Let me know what your 5 strengths are. If you've done this test before, hop on over to our Designer Meetup Facebook group and please let me know. Be like, hey, I'm also futuristic, or whoa, I'm positivity, or whatever. What is your top strength, or your top 5 strengths? I would love to hear from you. And until that time, have a great holiday, and I will see you in the new year. See you soon.